This video is about the construction of the drive in Ulivuzza. I've started taking measurements to see how much concrete we are going to need and what the process is going to be and the modifications for the layout of the drive. So we have an option to start from the yellow concrete, which is this part here. So from this point, from here to here is 2.7 meters, and from this point to all the way to this tree, the cypress tree number 0, I think, it's 11 meters. So I suggest we follow the width of the yellow concrete all the way here to the beginning of the slope, which is roughly where the cypress is. It just coincided that I picked a good day for measuring, nice and sunny, which is also the day that the bees decided to go and collect their honey and protect the hive. So as we approach the beehive, I'm going to be very careful. I don't want to be stung again. So the slope starts around here. Cypress tree, right? Cypress tree. I would suggest at this point we get about 4.5 meters width and start going up the drive. Ideally, I would like to fill. There's a kind of a dip here, like this, where the slope gets a bit more, the gradient gets more acute. So if it's possible to level it so it's more gentle slope, it will be easier to drive, particularly in the dark. My intention is to get the earth moving equipment. Look at the another cypress tree, and cut a little bit of the bank, not much, perhaps about 1 meter in this part here, not maybe even less, half a meter, and make a water channel. And then at this point, more or less, the water channel goes across under the concrete, a big tube, and discharges down the slope. When it rains, this part here gets like a torrent. Really lots of water come down here, and they bring the topsoil with it, which creates erosion, and it makes it more difficult to drive. I have managed to cut some of the grass around here, but the grass cutter is not working very well, so I couldn't really finish the job. But anyway, there are some small oak trees very close to the drive here and here. 4 trees. There's another one here, and they will stay where they are. So at this point, between these baby oaks and this cypress, I suggest we have 4.5 or maybe 5 meters width for the concrete. Probably 4.5, and not starting so close to the cypress, but a bit further down here, exactly on top of this water channel. Okay, so at this point here, there's a bit of a gradient that Gino made with the bulldozer, so that when cars stall going up this part of the drive, they can back up without being afraid of going over the edge. So he made a little slope here. My suggestion is that we flatten a little bit of that slope, maybe about a meter, to make the curve wider. So now this tree here, on the map it shows the number of this tree. I think it will stay where it is. Gino excavated with the bulldozer this part here to help making the curve, but this also means that it really doesn't address the problem 100%. What we really need is to take out this tree these little trees here, this is twigs, and then this tree here, and I'm gonna get closer in a minute, so that we can get the bank excavated a little here, and from this point make a straight line instead of going swerving to the right. The way we drive is we go up and then we swerve hard to the right, and then when you get to this point here we have to start swerving to the left, and then the slope has eroded in the center, so some cars will bang the bottom right here unless you put your wheels here and here close to the edge. Many drivers who don't know this road make some mistakes and their car stalls there and they have to back up all the way here, get more clutch, more engine, and whoop, going a second go. We are accustomed to the drive, so we do it in one go. Anyway, the idea is to widen this curve here, here, take out this tree, and this lump of bank here we also take out, so that we don't have to swerve this way and then swerve this way again. We can go in one straight line all the way up. So that's the idea. At this point here we can have the drive probably 3 meters. No, yeah, 3 meters. Coming a little further from the edge because it's going to be widened this way. The bees are active. I don't know if it shows in the film. And the beehive is here. A few years ago I was looking up and measuring trees. They came and stung me in the eye, my eyelid. It was not very pleasant, so I'm gonna go through that area very quickly. Anyway, this cluster of 4 little trees gotta go. This tree here gotta go. This one stays. This one stays. This big one goes. This small one goes. These twigs go. And these 4 trees here go. So this part, this bank here, would have to be excavated in that direction. So the extra soil that will come from the bank can be used to fill these, what do you call it, these grooves, and probably be used there, down there, to remove that dip, that kind of this dip on the last curve, and make it a better gradient, just going like that. So from this point on it's almost a straight line, so I'm gonna walk fast and try to avoid the bees. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, this part of the drive is wide enough. Here we can keep the same width, maybe about 2.7, 2.5. This part of the drive I would like to widen it just a little, 0.5 meter in this section here. Brushing against the fence, and if there is any soil left we use it to fill this part here that has a dip where the water excavated the ground. You can't really see at the moment because it's full of flattened grass, but it makes driving up and down unstable, because sometimes the car only has 3 wheels on the ground, and depending on the car model, the differential in the transmission makes, if one wheel spins, it loses traction on the other wheel. So if you don't have 4-wheel drive, you struggle on this curve here. And then it's a long way down in reverse before you can have another go. So this the erosion on this curve needs to be addressed as well, and that's the reason why I think we should go really close against the fence, so we avoid this left area and makes the curve more comfortable to make when you're driving up. So this part here, more or less straight up to that point. We can stick to about 2.5 meters width. Then the gradient starts going up again. Not very challenging, most cars can do, but the rains have eroded this part that doesn't have concrete, that doesn't have stones, and this part here has stones, and they kind of stick up. On more than one occasion I heard people complaining about their cars hitting their belly on this stone here. So we gotta be careful with this. My intention is to keep close to this wall, the concrete, you know, take advantage that there is already a stable surface there, and just put a lick of concrete on top with a reinforcement mesh, and then go over, cover here with concrete, and then add another ½ meter here. And also make a channel going on this side where the water wants to go, really. And make the channel going, brushing this wall, and then when it gets to this point here, it goes across a pipe. Perhaps we can have a water collection box right here, a pipe going across, taking the excess water to this, where this cypress tree is. Am I pointing the right way? Yeah, to where this cypress tree is, because there's a flat area behind the cypress tree that can absorb water from the rain and also feeds our water supply. So back to this section here, going up. Really simple job here, a lick of concrete on top here just to make it tidy it up, and a better, better built layer of concrete on this side here, joining up to the section that Naomi and I made a few years ago, which is here. That width is okay. We've had trucks and cars coming up and down here without any problems since we made it. I remember we ran out of energy and time, so we left the edge a bit exposed. We did this on the very last day before travel. So this part of the drive, if Yvonne wants to have everything uniform, we can have a small layer of concrete over, but I don't think it's necessary. We can just patch up this end, this left hand side here. Wait until the camera adjusts to the light. Fill up this section of the drive here, fill up this area complete here until it joins with, fill up until it joins with this part of the concrete that is in better condition. Access to the car park, if it was my dollar, I would leave exactly as it is. It is ugly, but there's no absolute need to address it. If Vaughn wants to make it pretty, we can put some extra concrete in this area and flatten it a little bit and make it a little pretty. And this is the car park area here. It fits about 8 to 10 cars, and they can go more in that direction. Anyway, back to the drive. This part here, as I said before, we just fill up with concrete this part, power wash the whole thing, Power washing will take more than a day probably, because I want the new concrete to stick to the old concrete. I don't want to have it flaking off in a couple of years' time. So there's a bit of degradation here as well. So we fill it up, power wash, fill it up, make it pretty. Just a lick of concrete over this area. All the way to this part. And here, you know, a little bit of concrete here. And we tidy up where the road joins. And this part here. I would like to remove this bump. There is a bit of a bump here. But we can probably just fill with concrete this part until it becomes, you know, tidied. Okay, now I'm gonna do the reverse now. Here is the entrance. I would like to have a pedestrian gate right here, where I'm showing there, but Von doesn't like the idea, so if we have a pedestrian, we just open the car gate. So here it is, as we're going down this part of the drive. Most concrete here, and then here is okay, it's acceptable. Perhaps a lick of concrete, and then we start filling up this area here. The less concrete we use, more money we save, right? So I don't know. I need to check with the boss the right ratio of savings to prettiness. If prettiness has a higher priority and it doesn't matter how much it costs, then we put a thicker layer of concrete and make it really nice. If the objective is to save some money, then instead of filling with concrete everywhere, we only fill with concrete the parts that are damaged, and we don't fill with concrete the parts that don't need it. So here's the walk down. This part here, once it's power washed, it gets all filled with concrete. Oh, this part. Oh, this section here. Yeah, the drive is wide enough at this point. Cars and trucks can go down without any problems. As I mentioned before, when it gets to this bit specifically, cars struggle with this edge. They either go with one wheel here and one wheel here, or one wheel here and one wheel here, close to the wall. Competent drivers don't have a problem with being close to the wall, but some people are a bit scared. There's a bit of a dip here, but caused by the water. I don't think we'll address it. We'll just leave it as it is and fill with concrete without adding unnecessary thickness here. At this point, a bit of a dip to fill up here. A dip to fill up. Hang on, let me see. A dip to fill up here. So this section we should have just a little bit of an inclination this way, but not too much. Just so that the four wheels of the car can have traction. And here this curve could be widened. Actually, it doesn't need widening. It's a easy enough curve to make. It's got a good radius. We'll probably trim this bush, which we normally do, but since we haven't been here for 2.5 years, it has overgrown. But I would like the concrete part of the drive to go a bit further this way, maybe 0.5 meter or 1 meter, so people can actually see where they are going down. Because at this point, as you're driving, sometimes your view is obscured, and during the day is no problem, but at night it can cause a bit of a stir. Okay, now this is B territory, so I'm gonna have to go a bit faster. I don't know if it shows on the video that there's a big dip here, and that usually scares novice drivers, and I have seen more than one driver put their wheel right there in the groove and then they bang the bottom of the car here. So I usually drive with one wheel here, one wheel here, but because it's close to the edge, some people may feel a bit uncomfortable, so the plan is to cut this bank here. Tock tock. So yeah, and losing this cluster of trees here. So from this point, as the driver is going down, he can actually see the curve at the bottom there and start preparing, you know, psychologically. Okay, I can see some bees circling around, and I'm gonna start walking a bit faster. Well, they didn't chase me this time. Okay, what's happening? Tracking focus, right. Okay, well, we've seen this part of the drive, and I already waffled a lot and enough. Oh, this is it's worth another look. Let me just adjust this. Okay, right. So this part of the drive is tricky. As you are going down, and most drivers are on hang on, which side of the road are we? Can't remember. So I would like to have the gradient a little like this, following this gradient. I think I did get stung. A little bit like this, so it creates the illusion of safety. Fuck. Oh, baby. And then just a little bit like this as we go down and rejoin the car park. Okay, this is it. End of video.